The Vatican might be the smallest country in the world, just 0.2 square miles, but it's home to one of the most heavily protected figures on Earth, the Pope. And in May 2025, as the world watched the white smoke rise above the Sistine Chapel, marking the election of a new Pope, few people thought about what actually goes on behind the scenes to keep that moment as safe as possible. Because for all its spiritual symbolism, the Vatican is also a high-value target. A place where history, religion, politics and global attention all collide. In this episode, we're breaking down how the Vatican is secured, from the ceremonial Swiss Guard to modern counter-terrorist teams, from conclave lockdowns to assassination attempts, and from centuries-old traditions to cutting-edge surveillance. This is real-world security at the highest level, designed not just to protect a person, but to preserve a legacy. Let's get into it. The Swiss Guard are instantly recognisable. Striped uniforms, halberds and Renaissance-era posture. To the average tourist, the Swiss Guard might look like living history, but behind the tradition lies a highly trained elite security unit. Formed in 1506, the Pontifical Swiss Guard is the oldest standing army in the world. It was originally created to protect Pope Julius II and defend the Vatican's sovereignty during a period of political chaos in Europe. Today, the Swiss Guard still guards the entrances to the Vatican City, stands watch during papal events and protects the Apostolic Palace. But don't let the uniforms fool you. They're trained in modern combat, firearms, anti-terror response and close protection tactics. They also work in tandem with the Vatican Gendarmerie and the Pope's inner security detail, especially during international travel or high-risk public appearances. To join the Swiss Guard, recruits must be Swiss nationals, Catholic, male, and have completed basic military training with the Swiss military. Despite its small size, around 135 members, it functions more like a presidential guard unit than a ceremonial force. Yeah, they'll pose for photos, but if something goes wrong inside the Vatican walls, they're not there just to look good. They're there to act, and act fast. So whilst the Swiss Guard might get all the attention, it's the Vatican Gendarmerie who handle the day-to-day business of security inside the world's smallest state. This is the Vatican's official police force, around 150 officers strong. The Gendarmerie handles everything from crowd control and surveillance to criminal investigations and counter-terrorism coordination. Unlike the Swiss Guard, who protect the Pope and internal Vatican buildings, the Gendarmerie focuses on everything else. So that's securing the Vatican's perimeter, screening visitors, running surveillance operations, and responding to incidents in real time. They're also responsible for monitoring thousands of CCTV feeds, overseeing facial recognition, license plate tracking and the Vatican's internal communication system. And when it comes to global threats, the Gendarmerie works closely with Interpol, Europol and Italian authorities to stay ahead of the potential risks, whether they're physical or digital. They're the ones who handle bomb threats, investigate suspicious packages and quietly deal with any disruptive individuals before they ever make it anywhere near St. Peter's Square. In short, if the Swiss Guard are the public-facing symbol of Vatican protection, the Gendarmerie are the quiet, highly trained professionals behind the curtain, keeping the entire city running safely every single day. As I mentioned earlier, in May 2025, the world watched as white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel, signalling the election of a new pope. On May the 8th, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost was chosen as Pope Leo XIV, becoming the first American-born pontiff in the Catholic Church's history. Behind this historic moment lies a meticulously orchestrated security operation designed to preserve the sanctity and secrecy of the Papal Conclave. Sequestration and oaths of secrecy during the conclave, cardinal electors are completely isolated from the outside world. They surrender all electronic devices and take solemn oaths of secrecy. The Vatican ensures that no unauthorized communication occurs, maintaining the integrity of the election process. To prevent any form of electronic eavesdropping, the Sistine Chapel is thoroughly swept for bugs and equipped with signal jammers. These measures ensure that discussions and votes remain confidential, free from external influence or surveillance. Access to the conclave areas is strictly limited. Swiss Guards and the Vatican Gendarmerie are stationed at all entry points, verifying identities and maintaining a secure perimeter. Only authorised personnel are allowed entry, and movement within the Vatican is closely monitored. The use of smoke signals, black for inconclusive votes and white for successful election, serves not only as a tradition but also a controlled method of communication with the outside world. This practice underscores the Conclave's commitment to both transparency and security. The successful election of Pope Leo XIV in 2025 exemplifies the Vatican's ability to uphold centuries-old traditions while maintaining and implementing modern security protocols. Vatican security hasn't always been what it is today, and it wasn't high-tech upgrades or new protocols that drove most of the change. It was tragedy and near misses. The most significant turning point came in 1981 when Pope John Paul II was shot in St. Peter's Square. The attacker, Mehmet Ali Agca, fired 4 times at close range as the Pope greeted the crowd. 2 bullets struck the Pope, one narrowly missing his vital organs. Fortunately, John Paul II survived the incident, but the incident did expose just how vulnerable he had been. At the time, papal protection was still largely symbolic, more presence than procedure. There was no bulletproof glass, no hardened vehicle, just an open-top Jeep and faith in the crowd. After that day, everything changed. The Vatican quickly introduced the Popemobile, fitted with bulletproof glass. Swiss guards received modernised training, and the Pope's movements, especially in public, were subjected to far more tactical planning. But unfortunately, the threats didn't end there. In 1995, there was another attempt on John Paul II's life, which was uncovered during a planned visit to the Philippines. Islamic extremists, including Ramzi Youssef, who also helped plan the 9/11 attacks, had plotted to bomb the Pope's motorcade during World Youth Day. The plan, part of a wider plot known as Operation Bujinka, was discovered by accident after a fire broke out in one of the conspirators' apartments. Had that fire not occurred, the outcome could have been devastating. These incidents forced the Vatican to think bigger. It wasn't just about crowd control anymore. The threat landscape had shifted from lone gunmen to international terror plots, and those lessons are still shaping Vatican security today. It's easy to think of the Vatican as a place rooted in tradition, ancient rituals, marble halls, Latin liturgy, but behind the scenes the Holy See is also a modern institution, and with that comes all the digital threats any governments face. In recent years, the Vatican has been targeted by cyber attacks ranging from phishing attempts to suspected state-sponsored intrusions. Some of these attacks were linked to espionage, others to hacktivism or attempts to gather sensitive diplomatic information. In response, the Vatican has implemented a surprisingly advanced cybersecurity strategy. Part 1. Encrypted internal communications. Particularly involving the Pope and senior advisors, these communications are routed through air-gapped or tightly secured networks with end-to-end encryption and layered access control. Part 2. Monitoring and threat detection. The Vatican's IT infrastructure includes network monitoring tools that flag suspicious activity in real time. These systems help detect intrusions, block malware, and isolate potential breaches before they can spread. Part 3. Collaboration with global cyber units. The Vatican works closely with international law enforcement and cybersecurity experts, including partners in Italy, the EU and beyond. When you're a global religious power, you're not just a target for criminals, you're a target for geopolitics. In short, the Vatican may look ancient, but its digital defences are anything but. On an average day, St. Peter's Square can draw thousands of tourists and pilgrims, but during major events like Easter, Mass, Christmas, or the recent Conclave, that number can swell to over 200,000 people. Managing a crowd of that size in such a compact, symbolic space is no small task, and that's where the Vatican's security strategy goes into full-scale coordination mode. First up, we have multi-agency collaboration. For public events, the Vatican works closely with Italian authorities including Rome's police, the Carabinieri, and Italian intelligence services. While the Vatican is sovereign territory, it relies on Italy's broader infrastructure, especially for outer perimeters and threat intelligence. Next up, we have crowd control and access screening. Entrances to the square are tightly controlled with metal detectors, bag checks, and segmented queues to prevent bottlenecks. Barricades are used to control flow, and plainclothes officers blend into the crowd to spot potential threats. Then we have air and drone surveillance. The Vatican is a no-fly zone, but during large gatherings, that policy is enforced with anti-drone systems, rooftop spotters, and real-time airspace monitoring in partnership with Italian air defense units. Last up, sniper and tactical readiness. Rooftops around the Vatican are staffed with snipers and counter-sniper teams. Nearby units hold quick response units trained to intervene in seconds if anything goes wrong. Every large gathering is treated like a potential threat because for the Vatican, symbolism brings also with it risk, and their security response reflects that reality. The Vatican is more than a place, it's a symbol, and symbols attract attention, not just from pilgrims and tourists, but from activists, extremists, and sometimes those with far more dangerous intentions. As threats evolve, so does the Vatican's security strategy. Past threats were often from individual attackers. Today's risks are far more complex. They include international terror networks, cyber espionage, and even hostile state-sponsored activity targeting the Church's diplomatic communications. This shift has forced the Vatican to work beyond its borders, sharing intelligence and training with foreign units and adapting faster than ever before. The Vatican isn't a military compound, it's a sacred site. Open, symbolic, and deeply rooted in tradition. That makes security far more challenging. You can't just wall it off and militarise it. So instead, the Vatican relies on discreet control, using visibility where it helps and hiding layers of defence where it doesn't want to interfere with the atmosphere of peace. From the 1981 shooting to the 2025 conclave, every event adds to the Vatican's understanding of how to protect what matters most. Security here is never finished. It's always adapting, quietly, intelligently, and relentlessly. So the Vatican might look like a place untouched by time. Stone columns, ancient rituals, quiet prayer. But behind the scenes, it operates like a modern state under a constant threat. From lone attackers to international terror plots, from cyber intrusions to crowd risks during global events, security here is layered, tested, and evolving constantly. The Swiss Guard still stands in Renaissance uniform, but they train like elite, close protection officers. And the Vatican Gendarmerie blend local policing with global intelligence coordination. And when the conclave begins, centuries-old traditions are backed by signal jammers, surveillance sweeps, and zero-margin protocols. Because in the Vatican, protection isn't just about people, it's about preserving something bigger, a legacy, a belief system, a symbol. And doing that in today's world takes more than just ceremony. It takes preparation, precision, and the willingness to adapt, quietly and without compromise. Thanks for watching today's video. If you're interested in the real world side of security where tradition meets threat and protection never sleeps, subscribe to our channel, like the video and smash that bell icon, and leave a comment below on your thoughts about the Vatican's security measures, and we'll see you again soon.